Welcome into 5 Wide Fantasy. Today's video, running back rankings for week 4. We look at the top 30 at the position to help you set your lineups this week. If you guys are new, subscribe to the channel. Like the video if you enjoyed. Comment down below with any start-sit decisions you are trying to make this week. Again, we'll get through the top 30. I'll go through these top 12 guys pretty quickly. But in general this week, a lot of the typical players that would be farther down in my rankings do have some great matchups. So some players that you could feel good about that you probably are trying to make decisions on your bench. So this should be able to help you quite a bit in terms of who to play and who to sit this week. All right, let's get to the top 6. At number 1 for me is Christian McCaffrey, coming off a game where he had 25 rushing attempts. Got the Arizona Cardinals, a run defense that's been pretty mediocre this season, and the bottom 12 in run defense grade, courtesy of PFF. So a good matchup for McCaffrey, a guy that I think will have a chance to have another big week. We're going to Saquon Barkley at number 2. Coming off a great week against the Cowboys, and he goes into another excellent matchup against the Chicago Bears defense. This game should be terrible to watch. These teams do not like to play at a high pace. There isn't going to be a lot of plays here, but I think both teams rely on the ground game to make things happen. So I do like Saquon this week at the number 2 spot. Getting into Austin Eckler at number 3. The LA Chargers offense is very banged up on the offensive line with Rashawn Slater and Corey Linsley. Those are massive pieces of that offensive line. Probably they are the 2 best pieces on that offensive line. But what can help them here and what can help a rushing offense that is the worst in the NFL is a matchup with the Houston Texans, the worst run defense grade at PFF this season. This is a good matchup for Eckler, who's sure to be picking up 5, 6, 8 receptions like he's been doing the last few weeks in the absence of Keenan Allen. So definitely someone I'm very high on this week in week 3, despite the injuries that the Chargers are dealing with. At 4, Jonathan Taylor. The Titans defense right now is giving up 5.8 yards per carry to running backs on the season. So a good matchup for Taylor. I know it's someone you're frustrated with in terms of not giving you those explosive weeks you'd hope to get with your first round pick. But this is a good chance for him to be able to do so. And a guy that's still getting tons of volume, someone that is going to still be high up in my rankings each week, considering that we know he's going to be getting 20 plus touches each and every week, barring anything significantly crazy, like apparently the Jaguars winning 24-0. So still firing away on Jonathan Taylor. At 5, Leonard Fournette. I think this is a good matchup against Kansas City's defense, even though they have been solid this season against the run. But KC plays a lot of too high shell and are happy to play that way to be able to limit explosive plays from opposing offenses in the pass game. So I think there'll be lanes for Fournette to run, but more importantly, a great check down option for Tom Brady, as he has been all season. I think finally we see Fournette get in the end zone this week. That's the big part of this top 5 ranking for Fournette on the week. Do not worry about Fournette if you do have him on your team. I know I've had some questions. Someone I'm still willing to buy low on even. Touches are there. We're just missing that touchdown. I think it can come this week. Nick Chubb in at 6 to close things out in the top 6. Chubb, as long as Jacoby Brissett's at QB, running the football is going to be a massive emphasis for the Browns. Going up against the Atlanta Falcons, the Falcons have been okay defensively against the run, but I do think in this game it will be a focal point as it's been all year. Hard to keep Chubb outside of the top 10 when this team is focused on the run so much. At 7, I do have Derrick Henry. The Colts do have a fantastic run defense, the number 1 run defense in the NFL right now, from a DVOA perspective, from PFF perspective. So I do think this is a tough matchup for Henry, but this entire offense goes how Henry goes. They're going to run the ball 20 plus times. This is going to be a competitive game. I don't see anyone running away with it. So Henry will be heavily involved. Whether or not he's efficient is another question, but it was good to see him picking up some receptions last week. And if this team's in the red zone and inside the 5, you know Henry's getting the ball. All right, at 8, someone I'm very high on this week, Antonio Gibson. So as long as Brian Robinson is out, Antonio Gibson has the run game, and this is a Dallas defense that is 6th worst for PFF in run defense grade. They give up a big explosive play to Saquon Barkley last week. So I really like Gibson in this matchup. I think, of course, he'll be involved too as a pass catcher, as he's been so far this season. But in this spot, a chance to put the ball on the ground and be efficient on the ground and potentially find the end zone. I really like Gibson this week, someone you can absolutely start with confidence. Najee Harris in at 9 going against the Jets. The injury is a problem. I think it's something that's going to linger for him. but it is a guy in a much, much more positive matchup, something that, they had in week 1, but here this is going to be a game where I expect them to win, expect them to be leading against the Jets. So Harris should be able to get plenty of touches, plenty of volume like you're used to from last season, and this time have the chance to be a little bit more efficient. At 10, right now I have Khalil Herbert. If Dave Montgomery is available, I do think Dave Montgomery will be someone I'm very high on this week. Maybe not at 10 because I am taking this as in Khalil Herbert would be the number 1 back, and he would be without Montgomery available, so he would have the entire role here in this offense. So I would probably have Montgomery if he's available in like that 14 range, 13 range. Still someone very high on. Again, the Giants' run defense has not been good so far this season, so a good matchup here for whoever it is that is the RB1 in this spot. Kamara at 11 going against Minnesota. Minnesota's run defense is 26th in DVOA. They just haven't been good at the line of scrimmage against the run. So I do like Kamara in this spot. I think as well, the Vikings secondary, a little bit suspect in my mind. This is a chance for Kamara to also pick up some receptions in this game. I know a lot of people are worried about him. The volume is still there for him. It's just a matter of time until he starts hitting some more explosive plays and finding the end zone. I think this is a good chance to do so for him. At 12, rounding at the top 12, Joe Mixon. Miami has been very good against the not very good. They've been pretty decent against the run and pretty decent bouncing back defensively. The run specifically is where they've been best. It's been in the secondary where they're giving up some explosive plays. But I do still like Joe Mixon in the case that he just has plenty of volume to go to week in and week out. Flipping the page to the next 6 here, Aaron Jones. New England is a team that I expect to be very good against the run. They've been good at limiting explosive plays, but they haven't been good in terms of making plays in the backfield and forcing teams behind to get behind the chains. So I do think Green Bay will still be able to rely on the run game. This will be a positive game script for them, with the potential of Mac Jones or pretty much certainty of Mac Jones being out. This is a New England Patriots offense that will have a tough time moving the ball. So positive game script will lead to some more plays for Jones, who's still splitting pretty evenly with A.J. Dillon week in and week out. But Aaron Jones is the player to be a little bit higher on in PPR formats. 14, Cordell Patterson. Cleveland, the Browns have been, I really love their secondary. I really love their defense, but they've got the 5th worst PFF grade against the run. They have not been great against the run so far this year. So I do think Patterson, of course, is a player that with Damian Williams out, they've involved Tyler Algier. He hasn't looked that great. Patterson still has this all-encompassing role in the offense, and in a positive game for him on the ground, that's even better because we already know he can be involved as a pass catcher. The question is how efficient can he be on the ground for you too? This is a good chance to do so. Dalvin Cook in at 15. Obviously, there's a concern of Cook's injury. It is a shoulder injury, one that I think is going to linger all season and kind of has been throughout his career, something he can re-injure, but I do think he's going to play this week. Just a little bit lower on him. New Orleans defense against the run has been pretty good, not as stout as it was last season, so a little bit better opportunity for him here. I do like Cook to be able to go to this week despite the injury, but I'm not incredibly high on him, and he's not sitting in my top 12, so something there. James Conner in at 16. I think this is a chance for a much better game script for Conner. The Cardinals have been the worst first half team I think I've ever watched in the history of sports. They've been terrible in the first half. So I think here against Carolina, they're going to have a much better game script for him. And that is the key here. This is still a guy getting touches, still the clear lead back, still involved as a pass catcher a little bit too. But this is a chance for him to be in a much better game script to be able to be successful on the ground. So give me James Conner at RB16 on the week. Javonte Williams in at 17 against the Raiders. The Raiders, surprisingly, if I could take any bright spot from their 0-3 start, been pretty solid against the run. Ninth best run defense so far this year. So it's a tough matchup here for Javonte Williams. And keep in mind, again, the divisional matchups tend to be lower scoring. That's been the case throughout this year. The unders have been hitting on these divisional games. And again, Denver's offense has been splitting things up with him and Gordon pretty evenly. So it's a frustrating thing for a lot of people. Maybe eventually this thing starts to break away, but right now, in my mind, this guy's an RB2 and like a middle of the pack RB2 moving forward. Damian Harris in at Jamal Williams in at 18 to round out the top 18. This is a really good matchup for Jamal Williams. No other way about it here. Seattle Seahawks have the 29th run defense grade, courtesy of PFF. They've been a terrible defense so far this year, and this is a really good matchup for a Detroit team here that's 6-point favorites in this game at home. So this could be a positive game script for Jamal Williams to keep the ball on the ground. Don't love his efficiency, but there's a chance that he's going to be having 20-plus carries in this game, and that's something you'd love to have as a guy you could have picked up off the wire and can confidently play this week. 19, Damian Harris. Green Bay, I expected with the additions they made through the draft that they'd be much better against the run. It just hasn't materialized. They're 31st in the NFL against the run. Damian Harris and Ramondre Stevenson have, of course, been splitting touches, but Harris is the guy inside the 5 and in the red zone. So success on the ground may give them a few opportunities to score. And if they're in those areas, despite the fact they have the possibility or the likelihood that Mac Jones is out, anything they do to me successfully offensively is going to come on the ground. They're going to rely on it heavily. So I think Harris is someone you can play this week with a little bit of confidence. At 20, Ezekiel Elliott. This is a good matchup for the Cowboys. We have the Commanders as the 7th worst run defense. So this is an opportunity for both of these guys, both him and Pollard, to have a good day. But this is a 60-40, 55-45 split of these guys. So the upside here is a little bit capped, just considering the split they have. Zeke still has the advantage, so he's one I'm a little bit higher on. But, I mean, in this offense without Dak, too, he's just not a guy I can rely on as anything more than a mid-level RB2 in a good matchup. So that's where I've got Zeke this week. A.J. Dillon at 21. I still, think the Patriots have a solid run defense. Dillon is still in an offense that can move the ball well, give him opportunities inside the red zone to punch the ball in on the ground, but still being split here, and Aaron Jones has that slight edge, working a little bit more as a pass catcher right now. But Dillon's still a guy that I'm playing each and every week. At 22, Jeff Wilson. The Rams, of course, are a difficult matchup for any running back, but the situation here for San Francisco is they've had plenty of success against the Rams dating back, since Kyle Shanahan's been there and since Sean McVay's been around in LA. And Wilson is a workhorse back right now. Jordan Mason wasn't involved at all. I think he had one rushing attempt in their game last week. Wilson is a workhorse. He's even getting involved in the pass game. This is a guy, for as long as Elijah Mitchell is out, is someone you should probably play regardless of the matchup. If Trent Williams' ankle sprain is a problem for the offensive line. But with Wilson's role, and with Jimmy Garoppolo at QB, they're going to rely on the run game. So Wilson is still, in my mind, an RB2 this week in a difficult matchup. At 23, Rashad Penny. Penny, the clear leader in the offense in terms of running the football. Kenneth Walker just hasn't really materialized in terms of working into the split. He's going to spell him a little bit, but Penny, you'd involved as a pass catcher as well. This is a good matchup, as one of the best matchups this team can get, going against Detroit, who have the 3rd worst run defense right now. So if you have Penny, you got to play him. There's really no other way around this. If you have him on your roster in this kind of matchup and you're not playing him, then he might as well be used as a trade piece for you. But this is a great matchup for him. So I would absolutely play him with some confidence this week. James Robinson rounds out my top 24. Is this the game where James Robinson finally doesn't have a positive game script to be able to run the ball in? The Eagles have been very, very stout defensively this season, and of course offensively as well. The run defense grade right in the middle of the pack, so it hasn't been fantastic, but I think here's a spot where the game script won't be quite as good for Robinson and his volume. 25, Tony Pollard. I mentioned the good matchup. Again, it's just hard to feel reliable with Pollard in terms of being in that split, and is he the one to break the big play? He's still getting a few touches inside the 5 too. Zeke has a little bit of an advantage, but still Pollard, someone that you're kind of deciding on each and every week, like, can I play him? Can I play him? This is a matchup where I think you can play him. At 26, Miles Sanders. Jacksonville has been stout defensively. Josh Allen, Trayvon Walker, Devin Lloyd. Their defense is looking much improved, especially in the front 7. The front 7 is very good. So Sanders is the clear lead back in this offense. This could be a positive game script for him too. I'm just a little bit lower because I do really actually respect the Jags run defense here, but Miles Sanders is still someone you could play, as this is a team running the ball on almost 50% of plays. So still good rushing volume for whoever the lead back is. At 27, Ramondre Stevenson. He did have more touches last week. So for anyone that has him, this is a pretty decent matchup going against the Packers, like I mentioned about Harris. So these backs are going to be both, I think, ham and egging big time here with probably Hoyer at QB. So, I would expect if you have Ramondre Stevenson, this is a matchup that you're probably going to want to play him in, just with how important these two backs will be to their success offensively. 28 Cam Akers. Very tough game, or very tough opponent for Akers here in the 49ers, but it does seem he had a 12-4 advantage in terms of touches with Darrell Henderson last week. It seems as though he's now taken over and is going to be relied upon as the lead option here. I don't trust his efficiency in this game. He is someone that I think if you need to, you can play him. I would try to find these guys I have ahead of him as players I would rather play, but this is a good offense, and he's the number one option, so I can understand trying to play him this week, but I would probably lean against it. At 29, Devin Singletary. The Ravens have been terrible in terms of giving up explosive plays. They're outside the top 20 in run defense grade, so good matchup for Singletary. It was good to see him involved as a pass catcher a ton last week. My question is, how often is he used in a game that could be a bit of a shootout here? If he continues to get the passing work, that is awesome. And if he hits a few explosive runs, but still a split with some of these other guys, still someone they're not using as a focal point of the offense. So someone you could play, but I'm a little bit worried about. Rounding out the top 30, Dameon Pierce, the Chargers run defense, not great. Like it's been okay, but it's been susceptible to some explosive plays. And Joey Bosa being out, we saw James Robinson hit that explosive play right in the spot where Joey Bosa would have been if he was healthy. So something that this Texans team can attack on the ground. So the big thing here is what the split's going to be with Dameon Pierce and Rex Burkhead. Burkhead has been now moved into from last week, being the guy in the 2-minute drill, being the guy on third down. So if we're not getting a lot of Pierce in terms of passing work and receiving work, then that's a problem in terms of his upside in a game where they're on the road and pretty significant underdogs in this game. I do think the Chargers will be able to bounce back this week and win this game. So it's a problem in terms of if the game script isn't there. Like you had a good game script against the Bears in a tight game. Can he be an RB2 on the week? I'm a little bit skeptical, but still inside my top 30. Some guys that I don't have in here. Really worried about Josh Jacobs against the Broncos. Broncos defense looks incredible so far this year, so that's one that I'm worried about playing Josh Jacobs in. Kareem Hunt, outside of my top 30, in at 31. Falcons, again, the Falcons run defense has been decent. There's just a lot of guys I like more than Hunt this week. Dobbins, another guy that, do I trust him against a really good Bills? If there's anything good with the Bills defense right now in terms of health, it's the front four and the front seven, and they've been good against the run so far this year. And Dobbins, we got to wait and see to see, he did have some receiving work, but can he put it all together? I'm a little bit skeptical this week. Last guys I'll touch on a few more because there are some surprise misses. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he's being outsnapped by Jerick McKinnon. This is a really tough defense in the Bucs. I would do everything not to play him this week. Raheem Mostert and the two backs for Miami are out. Just too much confusion for me, I think, in terms of who's the lead option. Chase Edmonds was getting the work inside the 5, which was good to see, but I got both of these guys out because I don't know what to make of these two options. And then Michael Carter, Breece Hall, just outside my top 30. The split is there, and it's hard to make a decision on who I want to play. Hall has a slight advantage last week. It can go back and forth. I'm trying to sit them in this matchup against the Steelers. But that is everything inside the top 30 running backs in the week. If you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to subscribe. Like the video if you enjoyed, comment down below with any players that you are looking to start or sit this week. And go check out our friends over at Betfred. Bet 50, get 250 in the NFL and on anything you're looking to bet on. That link is down below in the description. This week, I am going to, for the Thursday Night Football game, Miami and Cincinnati. I'm going with a boosted parlay over at Betfred. I've got the Bengals -4 I really like what they can do against the Dolphins, who do like to blitz. They're top 10 in blitz rate this season, and Joe Burrow is fantastic against the blitz in his career. Him and Jamar Chase have a great connection against the blitz as well. Hit some big plays, and a lot of Chase's yards last year came from blitz, from when Joe Burrow was blitzed. So I'm going Chase over 71.5 receiving yards, and I'm going Bengals -4 against the spread. That's boosted over at Betfred, so be sure to go check that out. Again, link is down below in the description. Bet 50, get 250 at Betfred. So go check that out again. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.